And the next thing I want to talk about is the players that are under the most pressure this season. Now, granted, this is my opinion, guys. This is just my opinion, right? It's not that it's not that these are the definitive players. These are just the players that I think are under a lot of pressure, and I think need to figure out a way to overcome some of the demons that they've been having. Excuse me. So let's talk about it. I got a few players here. Since we're on topic, let's stick to Paul George, for example. Paul George. All right. Paul George is a max player in the NBA. He's a 6-time All-Star. He's been on 5 All-NBA teams, been on 4 All-Defensive teams, 2 All-First, Second Defensive teams, 2 All-Second Defensive teams. He won the Most Improved Player of the Year in 2013, and he led the league in steals in 2019. And 2 seasons ago, the guy finished top 3 in MVP voting and top 3 for Defensive Player of the Year. So the guy can ball. Paul George has exhibited the ability to ball. That year, as I was talking about, he averaged 28.6 points a game, got you 0.2 blocks a game, got you 1.4 steals a game. 1.4 steals a game that season for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Got you 8.6 rebounds, and the guy just had a monster year that season. Monster year. But then, he got to the Clippers, and some can say yes, some can attribute it to injuries, fine. But let's just face it, Paul George played below his talent and his ability as a basketball player. He underperformed, especially in the playoffs. He did. There's no two ways to look at it. And Paul George has had this history of underperforming in big moments in the playoffs. Now, let me say this. A lot of you guys told me all last season and this year, whatever you want to call it, that, hey, listen, man, I don't trust Paul George. I don't trust Paul George. I don't trust him. And I said to you guys, man, what are you talking about? The guy can play, man. What are you talking about? And some people are like, man, I don't trust this dude. Even Kendrick Perkins said it. Listen, Paul George is not somebody you want to depend on. He is just not somebody you want to depend on in the playoffs because of his history of constantly flaming out in the playoffs. And I said to myself, no way, man. The guy's too good. Look at his numbers. He was injured. And sure enough, he was inconsistent all season. But he got to the Orlando bubble, and I said, listen, the guy's healthy now. And the guy's averaging over 25 a game. He's shooting really well. I told you, this is what Paul George looks like when he's healthy. And something unbelievable happened. The guy went into the playoffs, and literally same arena, same venue, didn't travel, nothing really changed. Same hotel, same food, nothing changed. And he was like another player. At certain points, it looked like Paul George forgot how to play basketball. And I was saying to myself, what the hell is going on here? And I remember a lot of people in the comment section say, hey, listen, dude, we told you. Bro, we told you. We told you you could not trust this dude. And I was, let me just say to you guys, I was feeling foolish that I picked this guy, that I sat here, defended him, saying there's no way that Paul George is going to underperform in these playoffs. And sure enough, he made me look like a damn fool. And Paul George has been at it for a long time. He's been in the league for 9 years. And you cannot have that much talent, that much skill, and constantly underperform in high leverage moments in the playoffs. Not in this scenario. Last time you were in the playoffs with Russell Westbrook, one can understand that, hey, listen, Russell Westbrook can be a little bit erratic. Sometimes he can take himself out of a game or even out of a series. Remember the time they were playing against, I believe it was the Utah Jazz, and he started going at it with Ricky Rubio in the playoffs. Who does that? Fouls out of it. Who does that? Right? Who does that? Who is so emotional that you can't control your emotions to the point where you start jeopardizing your team? Like, it's one thing if you jeopardize yourself, but the entire team. So one could say, oh, listen, he was playing with Russell Westbrook. And Russell Westbrook was always holding back. Now you're playing with Kawhi, man. Nobody here is going to argue that Russell Westbrook is better than Kawhi. No one that has any sense is going to argue that. And all Kawhi needed you to do was just be consistent. And you couldn't even do that. Earning over $30 million a year. We just did a video called Money in Sports talking about how much money Kawhi Leonard makes every single day. We're going to link that somewhere in the end of this video. You guys go check that out. These guys are making a lot of money. It's not like as if you're under any financial pressure. Excuse me. It's not like as if that's the issue. which is one of the biggest forms of pressure people can be under. Not saying it's the only one, but it's a major one that causes a lot of stress in people's lives, not having enough money and the pressure that comes with that. Not like as if you're married and you're having marital issues. You're not married. So what happened? What happened? And Paul George needs to redeem himself, especially after the comments that he made at the end of the series, saying, oh, hey, man, listen, we weren't expected to win, and, it is what it is, and, we'll be back. And you can't say that. You can't say that with all of the hype and the way you guys were walking around acting like as if you won the championship already, and then you come back talking about, oh, yeah, man, it's all good. It's whatever, man. We'll be back, and nobody expected us. Come on, you can't say that. So Paul George is one of these guys that has pressure on him. You got to deliver, man. You're making way too much money. You have help. You're on a talented team. You live in a beautiful part of the world. You're living in LA. It's not like as if you're living in one place that's super cold or super hot or whatever it is. It's not like you're living in the middle of Dubai in the summertime or something like that. You live in a beautiful part of the world. You have money. You're all of these different things. You're healthy. What's the problem? What's the problem? You got to perform. You're being paid to deliver results. You got to deliver. So Paul George is one of the guys that has pressure on him. Let's talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo is a player I love. I like the way he plays. I admire his game. And he's a hard worker. Giannis is just one of these guys that's gotten better all throughout his career. First year in the league, the guy averaged 6 points, 6.8 points. Next year, he averaged 12.7 points. The next year, he averaged 17 points. The next year, he averaged 23. The next year, he averaged 27. The next year, he averaged 27.7. Last season, the guy averaged what? 29.5 points, 13.6 rebounds, 5.6 assists, man. Come on. Shot 55% from the field. The guy's a monster. Giannis Antetokounmpo is, and oh, by the way, got you 1 steal and 1 block to go in with all of that. Deserved to be the regular season MVP. Absolutely. Unequivocally should have been the regular season MVP because he had the best regular season. Period. End of story. If we're going to take into account the playoffs, that's something else. But the regular season, he had the best regular season. Period. End of story. Period. End of story. He was not playing with another top 5 NBA player. I'm sorry. There was no argument you can make that Giannis was not the best player on his team. Some people say it's LeBron. It's not LeBron. LeBron, in some cases, was not even the best player on his team. He led the team in assists, but AD led him in point, rebounds, steals, and blocks, and all that other stuff. So he deserved to be the regular season MVP, and he had the number 1 record in the NBA. But in the playoffs, Giannis disappeared. Giannis Antetokounmpo disappeared, and as a back-to-back regular season MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, you gotta beat the Miami Heat, man. Some people would say, hey, listen, maybe his running mates and Chris Middleton. But these guys, how are you good enough to be the number 1 seed in the regular season and all of a sudden you get to the playoffs and you don't have enough help? Now, granted, there's some situations where players disappear, like Paul George just did, like we just finished talking about. But I don't think his teammates disappeared. And number 1, come on, man, you're the MVP. You're the best player on that team. Giannis was not himself, right? If we look at his playoff numbers, let me see if I can pull them up here. His productivity went down. Points per game went down by like 3 points a game. His field goal percentage stayed the same. Free throw shooting went down a little bit. His blocks went down. His steals went down. So you got to raise your game. Giannis has some pressure on him. Some people say, man, listen, man, at the end of this season, he may walk. Some people say, hey, listen, he should go to Miami after this. Some people are saying he should go to Golden State. I'm saying you're under pressure to perform. And the East got tougher with KD moving to the Eastern Conference with Kyrie Irving. KD is going to be the best player in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion, unless his injuries really changed him as a player. But Giannis Antetokounmpo should be able to at least get back to the Eastern Conference Finals. Should be. He's talented enough. The team is good enough. He should be. So there's going to be pressure on Giannis as well. And knowing what I know about Giannis up until this point, as a fellow Nigerian, brother of mine, let's say, I don't think Giannis is one of these guys that's going to be running around chasing rings. I could be wrong, but I think Giannis is probably stay put. Most likely stay put, because the things that other players look for is not what Giannis looks for, given his background. So Giannis is another guy that has some pressure on him to deliver, and I'll be really interested to see what he's able to do. Another player, and y'all are going to agree with me on this one, James Harden. James Harden is one of the players that's under a lot of pressure this season. Let's just be honest about it. James Harden is a regular season MVP, 8-time All-Star. He's been on 6 All-First NBA teams, 7 All-NBA teams total for his career. He also won the NBA Sixth Man of the Year award in 2012. He's led the league in scoring from 2018 to 2020, so for 3 straight years. He led the league in assists in 2017. One of the most talented players in the NBA was scoring and all of this. No one disputes that. If we look at his numbers last season, the guy averaged 34.3 points a game, 6.6 rebounds, and 7.5 assists. So the guy put up some monster numbers. Monster numbers. Now, some of you guys may say, hey, listen, these numbers may be a little bit inflated because he played under Mike D'Antoni, and we're going to see when he goes to if he gets traded, or I'm not sure. Yes, the Houston Rockets have a new coach, so we're going to see what his numbers look like if in fact the Mike D'Antoni effect is going to go away, or he's still going to be averaging 34 points a game. But James Harden is another player that's under pressure. James Harden has played with Chris Paul. James Harden played with Dwight Howard, and now James Harden is playing with Russell Westbrook. And somehow these guys are still not able to get over the hump for one reason or another. Max Kellerman made the excuse. Okay, they were going against the Golden State Warriors. Okay, fine. This year they were going against the Lakers. Look how they got beat down. Right? James Harden was not himself. If we go and look at his numbers, let's see his playoff productivity. I'm not sure of his numbers yet. But let's look at that. Okay, there's almost a 5-point drop off in his points. Now, some people say you averaged 29.6 points a game. It ain't what you did during the regular season. You didn't perform at that level. He shot a good field goal percentage. Shot 33% from the 3-point line. Got you 4.6 rebounds a game. No, 5.6 rebounds a game. 7.7 assists, 1.5 steals. But these are just stats, man. You got to get it done. James Harden's been at it for a minute. For a long time. James Harden has some pressure on him. And let me just say this about James Harden. I don't know him. I don't know if he's going to see this video. It doesn't really matter. I'm giving you guys my opinion. James Harden, as good as he is, he plays basketball and all of this. I have this feeling that losing does not bother James Harden the way it does other players. It's just a feeling I have about him. James Harden seems to have this kind of attitude that it's like, okay, I played my hardest, we lost. Okay, let me just go out and do my thing. Y'all remember a few years ago when they lost in the playoffs, like in 6 games, in Game 6 in the playoffs, or they lost in the series, and like a few hours later, they saw James Harden in a strip club. Y'all remember that? That James Harden was in a strip club after you just lost in the playoffs, and a game y'all supposed to win. I think when the Rockets went 0 of 30 south, some crazy number from the 3-point line, and you in the strip club, and you just lost. You just lost in the playoffs, a game you weren't supposed to lose, and you in the strip club. Like, how is it that you just? How are you even in an emotional state to go to the strip club and start listening to music? Like, how? What are you celebrating about? You just lost. And when you have a player that's that good, getting paid that much money, it makes me wonder, are you doing this? Are you playing basketball because you love it? Or are you just doing it because, this is a way to get a bag? To me, it's inexplicable that you just lost and you in a strip club. So for me, I think that speaks to James Harden's seriousness. Some people say, how are you going to say that? Who cares? You're scoring all of these points, but it's not amounting to anything. It's not adding up. That's why, so if you look at Kawhi, who averaged 27 points a game, you look at James Harden, who averaged 36 points a game, no one in their right mind is going to tell you James Harden better than Kawhi Leonard. Because it's not just about the productivity. It's not just about the numbers. It's about how are you making guys better? Are you showing up when we need you the most? It's not about, I averaged, who cares? James Harden has a lot of pressure on him, and I'm not letting off of that. I think it was crazy that he was in a strip club after you got blown out, after you lost that game to the Golden State Warriors, knowing good and well that you should have won the game. And finally, let's talk about Russell Westbrook. I got Russell Westbrook on the list as well, and he goes hand in hand with James Harden. Russell Westbrook has won a regular season MVP in 2017. I think he averaged a triple-double for 2 or 3 straight seasons. 9-time All-Star, 2-time All-Star Game MVP. Led the league to 2-time scoring champion in 2015, 2017. Led the league in assists 2 times already. One of the most athletic players we've ever seen, especially from the point guard position. Some may argue he is the most athletic point guard ever. Right? These are all vanity stats, vanity compliments. Right? Russell Westbrook has been in the league for a minute. Last season, he averaged 20-some points a game, 7.9 rebounds, 7 assists. He's been in the league for 11 years, right? But Russell Westbrook is another guy that has a lot to prove. Now, some of y'all may say, hey, listen, man, Russell Westbrook plays hard. Absolutely. No one is talking about whether or not he plays hard. There are a lot of players that play hard. Giannis Antetokounmpo plays hard. He still has pressure on him as well. But Russell Westbrook, from what I understand, has not made it out of the second or first round since KD left. Russell Westbrook, a few seasons ago, was playing with Paul George, a very talented player, was in the playoffs against the Utah Jazz, and Russell Westbrook literally self-sabotaged himself and got himself thrown out of that series. I remember, I think it was game 5 or game 6, for going to Ricky Rubio. Bro, how is it that you're that important to your team and you're allowing yourself to get thrown out of a playoff game? Who does that? Russell Westbrook is way too talented, getting paid way too much money. You guys keep talking about, I know some of you guys may think, what does the money have to? Money has a lot to do with it. When people pay you to pay you money, they expect the results. You crazy? If you're running a business and you're paying a guy $500,000 a year, you're going to keep paying this guy. You're going to be excited every time this guy doesn't deliver every year, and you still got to cut that check for him because you signed a 5-year contract with him, paying him $2.5 million a year. You got to deliver. Just because he's an athlete doesn't mean he gets a pass. Now, granted, everything is on his not his fault, but you got to deliver. You've been in the league for a long enough time. You got to deliver, man. You got to deliver. And given the fact that you're playing with another regular season MVP in his prime, come on, they got to deliver. They got to. There's too much riding on it. And some people would say, but I thought you said Paul George. And that's life. That's the competition of it. Someone wins, someone loses, but doesn't mean that the pressure's still not on you. It's a cop-out to say, well, man, listen, the other team. No, that's a cop-out. You got to go out there and deliver. And the case in point is you never know what's going to happen. The Denver Nuggets beat the Clippers, and the Clippers were favored. So what does it mean? So for me, these are the players that are under the most pressure. So I want to know if you guys agree with me about these players that are under most pressure for this season. And let me know if you guys agree with me or think there should be other players on this list, or some of these guys shouldn't be on the list. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and make sure to follow us on our Twitter accounts that we have linked in the description below. And let me just close out this show here with this topic here.